Now, since we know that there were Jews in the area of Egypt back during the times of 3,000 years ago, the book of Exodus, but we don't know how many were there. It could have been 1, 2, 100,000, 500,000, a million. Okay, nobody knows how many was there. These external attacks would have weakened Egypt, so there had been no work for the Jews to make any money. But according to the Bible, it says 600,000 men and families left and wandered the desert for 40 years. That would have been 1 million or more Jews if you look at it with their families. 600,000 men with families. Don't you think such a large crowd of people would have left some kind of evidence behind of them wandering through the desert? The entire desert's been looked over, still being looked at. They left no evidence. No archaeological evidence can be found. They're still looking. But the fact is, small bands as small as a couple people at a time, left Egypt and headed to the land of Canaan. The parting of the Red Sea, where the Jews would have crossed, let's just spell another miracle. There's a natural land bridge. And due to what's known as wind set down, which is a strong, steady wind that usually blows towards the east, literally blows the water aside. The land bridge was exposed, and these people that left in their small bands knew when this would happen, so they'd be there and they'd cross it, and when the wind stopped, the water comes back. There goes that one. But there's absolutely no archaeological evidence of an Egyptian army being destroyed like what was said in the Bible. So they may have found 1 or 2 items, but the Nile River has a current. Current could have dragged those items down the river, been buried for thousands of years, and then it would have been exposed during the process of the water eroding down to them. Well, they could have come from anywhere along the Nile at any given point in time. So that, and 1 or 2 artifacts somewhere don't prove shit, folks. And actually, if you're looking for proof that it did happen, you can only have one little source. And that's the Bible itself. One document does not prove nothing. You have to have something to back it up, and there's nothing to back it up. And that document is told to promote its own religion and everything. So I guess that tells what Christianity and Judaism is all about. And another thing, Exodus is the only place that points to any Jewish slaves. Well, since we know for fact that the Egyptians were documentarians, they would document how many times a day they farted damn near. There's no documentation of any Jewish slaves whatsoever. You only have the Bible for that. And that's a book that's based on blind faith, no fact. So what's written in the Bible under the book of Exodus cannot be proven. And there's also another possibility, that it didn't even happen. Jews lived in Israel. 400 years are in, their tablet pops up that in Egypt that they're in the land of Canaan. You know what? There's no records anywhere but the Bible of anything that happened in the 400 years. But there is a possibility that what happened was that since the Jews were nomadic, they would sit around and tell their tales and everything, and they would pass them down generation to generation to generation. And this migration to Canaan probably took 300 to 400 years of people leaving Egypt for Canaan. So they would have told their stories, and eventually stories would have been pulled together, and it would have made this big epic. So was it a chain of natural events, or it didn't even happen? There's no evidence to prove any plagues, no evidence to prove a parting of the sea, and no evidence to support a mass exodus and people wandering the desert for 40 years. I've given you natural reasons why these things would have happened, and a reasonable reason why they didn't even happen at all. So that debunks that book of Exodus. Natural explanations, if it did happen. Big question. Since there's no documentation of none of it in any records anywhere, no archaeological evidence to prove any of it happened, it didn't happen. So a society that was set up on the Judaism and the Christian text of Exodus is only fooling itself. There you have it. Exodus exposed for the fraud that it is. Another book of lies in the Bible. Hail Satan, hail thyself, blessed be.
I was born ready, motherfucker.
Yo. It's the feast of the blood was sent. Unleash the beast within. I walk around with the strength of 100 men. You best to run before I count to 10. Blood dripping from my canine like a fountain pen.
I was born ready, motherfucker.